Welcome viewers. In today's lecture, we will study about the topic entitled David Orr, who is an American environmentalist. Firstly, we will go through the objectives of our lecture today. The first objective is to study the significance of an environmentalist. Secondly, to study about the works of an American environmentalist, David Orr. And thirdly, to analyze the vastness and the depth of his achievements globally. So, who is an environmentalist? An environmentalist is a person who is concerned with and or advocates for the protection of the environment. An environmentalist can be considered a supporter of the goals of the environmental movement, which is to state as a political and ethical movement that seeks to improve and protect the quality of the natural environment through changes to environmentally harmful human activities. An environmentalist is engaged in or believes in the philosophy of environmentalism or one of the related philosophies. The environmental movement has a number of subcommunities with different approaches and focuses, each developing distinct movements and identities. Environmentalists are sometimes referred to by critics with informal or derogatory terms. Now, let us study a little bit about the types of environmentalist. The environmental movement contains a number of subcommunities that have developed with different approaches and philosophies in different parts of the world. Notably, the early environmental movement experienced a deep tension between the philosophies of conservation and broader environmental protection. In recent decades, the rise to prominence of environmental justice, indigenous rights, and key environmental crises like the climate crisis has led to the development of other environmental identities. Environmentalists can be described as one of the following. Firstly, we have climate activists. The climate movement is a global social movement focused on pressuring governments and industry to take action. It is also called climate action, which addresses the causes and the impacts of climate change. Environmental non-profit organizations have engaged in significant climate activism since the late 1980s and the early 1990s, as they sought to influence the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Climate activism has become increasingly prominent over time, gaining significant momentum during the 2009 Copenhagen Summit, and particularly following the signing of the Paris Agreement in 2016. The public recognition of the climate crisis and emergence of the climate movement in the beginning of the 21st century led to a distinct group of activists. Activations like the school strike for climate and Fridays for Future have led to a new generation of young activists like Greta Thunberg, Jamie Margolin, and Vanessa Nakate, who have created a global youth climate movement. Next, we have the conservationist. One notable strain of environmentalism comes from the philosophy of the conservation movement. Conservationists are concerned with leaving the environment in a better state than the condition they found it distinct from human interaction. The conservation movement is associated with the early parts of the environmental movement of the 19th and the 20th century. Conservationists are people who work to reduce the social, economic, and environmental factors that diminish natural ecosystems. To conserve is to retain something as it was before, to prevent it from disappearing or declining. Conservationists include park and wildlife managers, non-governmental organizations, landowners, and private citizens, and they use a number of tools or techniques to achieve their goals. Conservationists can, for example, remove a threat or stressor to an ecosystem through pollution control or invasive species removal. They can restore an ecosystem through cleanup and species planting, and they can set aside land or water to be left untouched by humans. Sometimes they might even move species from one area to another to restore a native habitat, to save a species from extinction, or to enable genetic mixing and reduce the negative effects of inbreeding in small populations. Then we have environmental defenders. Environmental defenders or environmental human rights defenders are individuals or collectives who protect the environment from harm resulting from resource extraction, hazardous waste disposal, infrastructure projects, land appropriation, or other dangers. In 2019, the UN Human Rights Council unanimously recognized their importance to environmental protection. The term environmental defender is broadly applied to a diverse range of environmental groups and leaders from different countries that all employ different tactics and hold different agendas. Use of the term is contested as it homogenizes such a wide range of groups and campaigns, many of whom do not self-identify with the term and may not have explicit aims to protect the environment, being motivated primarily by social justice concern. Environmental defenders involved in environmental conflicts face a wide range of threats from government, local elites, and other powers that benefit from projects that defenders oppose. Global Witness reported 1,922 murders of environmental defenders in 57 countries between 2002 and 2019, with indigenous people accounting for approximately one-third of this total. Documentation of this violence is incomplete. The UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights reported that as many as 100 environmental defenders are intimidated, arrested, or otherwise harassed for every one that is killed. Now we will finally come to David Orr, who is an American environmentalist. Born in 1944 in Des Moines, Iowa, and he was raised in New Wellington, Pennsylvania. He holds a BA degree from Westminster College in the year 1965. a Master of Arts degree from Michigan State University in the year 1966, and he was awarded a PhD in International Relations from the University of Pennsylvania in the year 1973. He's married. He and his wife have 2 sons and 2 grandchildren. He is a renowned environmentalist who specializes in environmental education and environmental design. Among Orr's recent work is the Oberlin Project, which is a joint venture between the Oberlin College and the town of Oberlin, focused on full spectrum sustainability. David Orr is Paul Sear's Distinguished Professor of Environmental Studies and Politics, Emeritus and Senior Advisor to the President of Oberlin College. He is the founding editor of the journal Solutions and a founder of the Oberlin Project, which is a collaborative effort of the City of Oberlin, Oberlin College, and private and institutional partners to improve the resilience, prosperity, and sustainability of Oberlin. He is perhaps best known for his pioneering work on environmental literacy in higher education and his recent work in ecological design. He raised funds for and spearheaded the effort to design and build a $7.2 million environmental studies center at the Oberlin College, a building that was described by the New York Times as the most remarkable of a new generation of college buildings, and by the US Department of Energy as one of the 30 milestone buildings of the 20th century. So now, with this, we have come to our first quiz. The question is, David Orr was born in the year. The answers are option A, 1944, option B, 1977, option C, 1955, and option D, 1966. And the answer is 1944. In his early career, after receiving his PhD from 1971 to 1976, Orr was an associate professor of political science at Agnes Scott College in Decatur, Georgia, where he co-founded the annual Atlanta Environmental Symposium. Influenced by the book The Limits to Growth, 1972, the symposia in 1973 and 1974 focused on the limits to growth and land use in the Atlanta region. These were among the first such regional-wide events to bring media, government agencies, business, community, students, and experts to discuss the practical and the political implications of Earth's limit. From 1976 to 1979, Orr was an assistant professor of political science at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, NC. He published articles in the Journal of Politics, Polity, the Western Political Quarterly, the International Studies Quarterly, Human Ecology, the Sierra Club magazine, Dissent, and co-edited and contributed to the Global Predicament, University of North Carolina Press 1979, that helped to make the case for including environmental issues to the core of political science. In Oberlin College, Oberlin, OH, professor of environmental studies and he was the chair of environmental studies department. He was also the director of Environmental Studies Center, one of the most distinguished scholar in residence, Ball State University 1995 and Westminster College 1996. He was a member of the board of directors of Rocky Mountain Institute, Second Nature, Center for Eco-Literacy, and Center for Respect of Life and Environment. He was also an advisor and consultant for Trust for Public Land and National Parks Advisory Committee. He is a member of the Board of Trustees, Educational Foundation of America and Crompton Foundation. He has lectured at hundreds of colleges and universities in the US and elsewhere. David Orr is the Paul Sears Distinguished Professor of Environmental Studies and Politics and Chair of the Environmental Studies Program at the Oberlin College. He is also a James Marsh Professor at Large at the University of Vermont. Currently, he is a trustee of the Alliance for Sustainable Colorado and the Children and Nature Network. Now, David Orr is an award-winning environmental scientist who, through his writings and lectures, hopes to change the way students and educators approach responsible management of biological diversity. Orr's books propose a revolution in the way higher education prepares people to interact with the environment. He advocates a broad-based curriculum reform that would create a worldwide citizenry actively engaged in environmental conservation and repair. According to Ed Ayers in World Watch, Orr ranks among those who feel that the real threat to American and world security is not terrorism, but environmental and economic decline. Whole Earth Review contributor Jay Baldwin praised Orr for nudging society towards the elusive goal of sustainability. Orr has spoken on environmental issues at the White House and at international conferences. He is perhaps best known, however, for creating an environmental studies center at Oberlin College that serves as a model of how institutions of higher learning can physically play a role in conservation and resource management. His book Ecological Literacy, Education and the Transition to a Postmodern World proposes ways in which education can evolve to answer the problems posed by environmental degradation. The author suggests that emphasis be placed on sustainability not only in the narrow parameters of ecologically based programs, but in wider curricula from political science and economics to liberal arts. Orr expands on these ideas in his book Earth in Mind on education, environment, and the human prospect. In the Journal of Environmental Education, Charles E. Roth wrote of Earth in Mind, "This book is truly a must-read for all people interested in education, environmental or otherwise." To quote Gary A. Klee in The Ecologist, Earth in Mind is a manual of ideas and possibilities drawn from years of experience in trying to move educational establishments in a different direction. The Last Refuge, Patriotism, Politics, and the Environment in an Age of Terror collects a series of essays Orr has written on the influence that international politics has exerted on environmental decay. Orr maintains that the threat from terrorism is far outweighed by the looming global catastrophe brought on by the overuse of fossil fuels, overpopulation, and agricultural mismanagement. It's not hard to imagine how these essays might energize a readership committed to Orr's brand of politics, wrote a Publishers Weekly reviewer. In Environment, Steve Lackman observed that the book has some compelling ideas. Academicians and scientists can no longer feign neutrality. Instead, they must advocate on behalf of the Earth. There are some critical and biographical sources that has been written on David Orr. To name some, Ecologist, which was written by Gary A. Klee; Environment, written by Steve Lackman, which is a review of The Last Refuge, Patriotism, Politics and the Environment in the Age of Terror; Journal of Environmental Education, written by Charles E. Roth, which is a review of Earth in Mind; Publishers Weekly, which is a review of The Last Refuge; Whole Earth Review, which is a review of the ecological literacy, education and the transition to a postmodern world; and A World Watch by Ed Ayers, which is Citizen Heal Thyself. These are a must-read for the viewers to have a better understanding of a critical opinion about David Orr. Orr is the author of many books, including Dangerous Years, Climate Change, The Long Emergency, and The Way Forward in Yale 2016, and Down to the Wire Confronting Climate Collapse, The Fifth Revolution, Ecological Design, and the Making of the Adam Joseph Lewis Center, The Last Refuge, Patriotism, Politics and the Environment, The Nature of Design, Earth in Mind, Ecological Literacy, and co-editor of 3 others, namely The Global Predicament, The Campus, and The Environmental Responsibility. He has authored over 200 articles in scientific journals, reviews, book chapters, professional publications, social science publications, and in popular magazines. Dr. Orr is also a contributing editor of Conservation Biology. He has been awarded with 8 honorary degrees and a dozen other awards. Some of the best are: he is the recipient of the Pioneer Award 2003, a National Conservation Achievement Award by the National Wildlife Federation. He has been awarded with a Visionary Leadership Award from Second Nature, a Lyndhurst Prize awarded by the Lyndhurst Foundation to recognize the educational, cultural, and charitable activities of particular individuals of exceptional talent, character, and moral vision. The Benton Box Award from Clemson University for his work in environmental education in 1995. Some of his achievements include the following. While at Oberlin, he spearheaded the effort to design, fund, and build the Adam Joseph Lewis Center, which was named by an AIA panel in 2010 as the most important green building of the past 30 years, and as one of the 30 milestone buildings of the 20th century by the US Department of Energy, and was instrumental in funding the Peter B. Lewis Gateway Center. He was named an environmental hero for 2004 by Interiors and Sources magazine. He holds 3 honorary doctorates and has been a distinguished scholar in residence at the University of Washington, Ball State University, and Westminster College in the Salt Lake City. In a special citation, the Connecticut General Assembly noted Orr's vision, dedication, and personal passion in promoting the principles of sustainability. The Cleveland Plain Dealer described him as one of those who will shape our lives. Now, with this, we come to our second quiz. The question is, which of the following book was written by David Orr? The answers are Option A, Earth in Mind. Option B, The Last Soul. Option C, The Environment and its Sustainability. And option D, The Earth and the Soul. And the correct answer is option A, Earth in Mind. So to conclude this lecture series, we have studied the importance and the significance of an environmentalist in today's modern world. Followed by that, we have gone through an in-depth study about an American environmentalist, David Orr, his achievements, his career, early work, awards and honors, and his literary works, which shows how much effort he has given in his work to improve this environment. Thank you.